MashaAllah, we're back again, brother. MashaAllah. So the last and the third question, again, similar to the first one. What advice would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now, and to the others? This time, in regard to your company, whether it be your spouse, friends, colleagues. That makes sense. The people around you, the people you deal with. So, mashallah, bismillah, enlighten us.
So, first thing I want to state is 99% of the friends that you have in your youth.
So we're starting for the youth, and then as you go up, that's nice.
Of your friends that you have in the youth, you're never going to see them again.
Subhanallah, that's true, man.
Yeah.
That is true. Okay? Sadly, innit?
Sadly, and also in a positive way as well. Okay, in a positive way as well. The reason why I say in a positive way as well is because most of the people around you have no good for you anyway. They don't bring you up in the dunya, they don't bring you up in the akhirah. Does that make sense in that aspect? And I'm talking from a personal experience. Everyone grows up in different societies and different areas and environments and so forth. So for me, when thinking back, 99% of the people that I kind of grew up with, there's I'm gone. That's it. No more. Don't know what they're doing. Don't know where they are. Now, for someone like me, from a personal point of view, I used to have quite a big group of friends, and not only a group of friends, they were in different parts as well. So I used to have a few groups of friends, and at the time, everything is all about you and your friends and so forth and so forth, and you never think beyond that circle. You think you're going to be friends for life and so forth, and over time, what you would see is that one by one, they all start knocking off one by one, and they go and do their own thing, and rightly so, right? Because people start having to think about their own lives, if that makes sense. I've got a close group of friends that I'm with now at the moment, and we've not seen each other for months. Right?
They're your close ones.
Yeah, close ones. Because why? Because they've got families, or one of my friends got one kid, and another one's got another kid, and so forth, and everyone's just busy in their own world, if that makes sense. Me, myself, for example, I don't get no time, right? Because you have to factor around my daily life. I've got work, right? On top of that, I've got a family, I've got my sports, I've got my gym, I've got everything that I kind of need to fit in a week, if that makes sense. So in general, I don't have no time, if that makes sense. Similarly, your friends are not going to have no time, and that's when slowly everyone starts knocking off, and it just becomes about you and your family. Yeah. So for example, my life now is just it revolves around my family.
So let me get this. You're saying, if I'm wrong or if I'm not wrong, that yes, have your friends. First of all, choose your friends carefully,
and have a small group.
Have a small group. This is from a younger age, yeah. And also, don't be peer pressured. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because these people that you're trying to fit in, or whatever maybe wherever you may be, that they're not going to be around.
They're not going to be.
So
around. Don't
mess your school for that. Then just sometimes you feel like, let me just show off on what. Or don't get into the bad habits or any habits that is not good for you because of your friends. Because as you walk you walk and you move on your life, and you look back, everyone just will fall down. It's falling off. Every one of them, you leave them. That makes sense.
Definitely, and everyone has to worry about themselves, and rightly so. Obviously, when you get older, and it's unfortunate that you see that there are people out there that are still have families and this and that and so forth, but they're still with their friends when the priorities are wrong, when the priorities should be the family.
So now we're going to family, yeah.
That's the
so is this family as like your wife or your kid, or your family, brother, sister, mom, dad?
When it comes, let's be honest now. When it comes to immediate family, most of the time is spent with immediate family anyway, if that makes sense. Which is your wife and your kids. Yeah.
Okay. What about when you're not married? Let's go to that.
So when you're not married, when you're not married, you should have other priorities as well. Okay. For example, family should obviously be one, but you should also have other priorities as well, where you do things where you won't be able to, if that makes sense, when you're married, right? So for example, traveling is one. For example, me, from my personal point of view, alhamdulillah, I've managed to travel a little bit.
With your family?
No, with myself and friends and whoever it is. If that makes sense. I've done even if it's working abroad and so forth. So I've done a bit of traveling in that sense. So wait, before you're married, try doing as much as you can of doing the things that you can't do when you're married. Because when you're married, you're tied up, and when you've got kids, you're even more tied up, and you're restricted to what you can, where you can and can't go, and so forth.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. Let me again. That's a good advice. What about your sibling, mom, dad?
No,
And
you always.
But let me, because some people don't get along with their families. You know, it's easier getting along with your friends.
Yeah.
You have more connection than your family. What advice would you give that?
I understand.
And you have to motivate yourself to, you know,
I understand.
to
And
smile or this
and
to
we
be.
see it all the time. You know, obviously, me and you are we're in the community, and we see things and so forth. And that's what's only normal. Personalities will clash. You with me? And whatever you agree with. For example, me and you will have a lot of disagreements on certain things. Now, it's only natural that you're going to have disagreements with your siblings and so forth and so forth. Now, if there's disagreements, let there be disagreements, but don't let those disagreements be something that breaks down kinship and ties. Yeah. Two weeks ago, I think there was a khutbah. I think it was 2 weeks ago, where one of the brothers was doing a khutbah for Jummah.
Yeah.
And he was talking about a hadith where I can't remember from the top of my head, where he goes, anyone who breaks kinships with families, his du'as or something won't be accepted.
His prayers, wow.
His prayers or something along those lines, or he's neglected from Allah's mercy. I don't want to be one
serious stuff, yeah?
So it's basically something very serious. So if you don't have disagreements, that's fine, but don't break down communication and don't break down kinship. If that makes sense.
Okay, let me break that more. So say those who say their parents weren't involved in their life, or wasn't there to support them, and obviously you still have to respect your parents and siblings. What advice would you give them?
All right, so when it comes to parents and so forth, you are obliged to love your parents.
But you don't get along with them. You
Right, I'll get to that point. Yeah? So you're obliged to love your parents. Yeah, you love your siblings and so forth. Right. Now it's only natural again that sometimes you disagree with certain things and so forth. Now, in instances like that, yeah, sometimes you need to take the lead. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes it might displease them, but you need to kind of take the lead in something. I'll give you an example. A lot of the times when it comes to marriage and so forth, parents have a certain way of seeing things, and obviously as a new age born in this country and so forth, you have another way of seeing things. Okay, so what you're trying to gain and what you're trying to implement, your parents won't understand, and you won't understand what they're trying to do. So sometimes as a man or a woman, you have to take the lead, if that makes sense. You have to make decisions that might upset them.
So you gently push back.
You do it in a nice, subtle way. Sometimes it doesn't come out in a nice, subtle way, and sometimes there is a bit of a disagreement and so forth. But
so how important is listening to the advice of your parents?
No, it's very, very important.
So out of 100%, how would you do? Or this depends. So
very, very important, but also scenario based as well, right? It's scenario based. So, for example, your parents might want you to do something that's not correct. For example. Right. Give an example. If they're not, if again, let's go back to the marriage one, because a lot of times where a lot of families, disagree with, and there's a lot of issues and so forth. So, for example, your parents might not want you to marry someone, right? Now,
so you have to ask the question.
Now, sometimes if you feel like that person's right, sometimes you kind of need to put your feet down, because at the end of the day, we've seen it in a society like this, where when it comes to marriage as well, if you don't marry, right, if your parents stop you from marrying someone, and let's say you don't marry that person, it's that resentment's always going to be there. And not only that, you could fall into other harams and sins and falling into places that you shouldn't be.
And also, if I may add, that sometimes the adults see something you might not see.
Yeah, 100%.
Because your feelings, your judgment, might be clouded.
100%. Now, I always say that, look, there's always going to be that agreement. So, for example, even though you were born here, the way your kids are going to see something is going to be different to how you see things. If that makes sense, whether it's education or so forth. Like, you might be on the mindset that, my kids are going to go uni and so forth. But your kids are like, I've seen my life going X, Y, and Z, and you're going to clash there. Does that make sense? But your child is obliged to still love you and care for you. You have to meet in the middle sometimes. Sometimes you have to meet in the middle. And sometimes it's the fault of the parent, and sometimes it's the fault of the child as well. So always let that love be there, and, communicate. You know what? At the end of the day, communicate, be clear from your expectations from the beginning. If that makes sense. And be open with your kids now. In this society, you have to be open with your kids now. Because if you're not open with them, they're going to go behind your back and do stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah? Okay, they're gonna go things that represent you and so forth. So it's all about having a clear-cut communication right from the beginning.
From both sides, yeah?
Both
Kids
sides,
and the parents.
both sides.
Yeah?
But you know what? It starts with the parents as well, because the parents is the one, obviously, that, you know, if the parents open up, child will feel more inclined to kind of open up to the parent as well. So if the parents close, the child's going to be closed. If that makes sense.
Wow, mashallah, was amazing. Thank you, brother.
No problem.
And yeah, hopefully people take heed. Up first myself.
Yeah. No, myself as well. You know what? I'm still learning at the end of the day, man. I'm still learning, man.
So yeah.
Life is a journey, and obviously we're speaking about knowledge as well. You're always learning. Yeah, whether it's the deen, whether it's, you know, how you conduct yourself in a day-to-day fashion. It's all about learning, man. We're all on a learning walk, man. And you know, we're never gonna stop learning. We're never gonna stop learning. Every day is a new adventure, man. And it really, really is a new adventure.
All right. Thank you very much.
No worries, man.
See you later.